Three, two, one, one, two, three, three, two, one.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is your girl Nat with the Peat Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. I have a special co-host tonight. What's up, Swiper?
Man, what's going on now? I appreciate you bringing me on. How's everything going today?
It's going good. It's going good. We got a lot to talk about tonight. You know, those playing games Tuesday and Wednesday that we got to talk about, man. We're going to talk about our bracket and the MVP race. But let's kick it off with the week on repeat. All right, Swiper, let's get into it, man. So Tuesday, as we know, we had Atlanta versus Miami, and then we had Minnesota versus the Lakers. Did you watch both of those games?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 1,000%.
All right, so I had Miami winning that game. I don't know what happened, but it's like they decided not to be in the game. It was like I wasn't sure if Bam was playing midway through. Jimmy was trying the pump fake, and it just was not working. Trey played under control, you know, and that was nice to see versus Miami. DeJounte was a little quiet for this game. He's usually much more explosive, but 21 rebounds for Clint Capella, you know, which is crazy. Sadiq Bey off the bench, 17.6 rebounds, you know, and Trae Young, 25, 8, and 7, and DeJounte Murray, 18, 5, and 6. So why don't you talk to me about what you saw in that game and how you think it went?
Yeah, I think I actually picked the Miami Heat before the game started as well. But I think the thing is that the way plans work, if you have a bad shooting game, that's it, you know, and if the other team has a good shooting game, you're done. And I think a lot of this came down to Bam Adebayo was a no-show in a lot of ways. Jimmy Butler obviously was missing a lot at the rim. Tyler Hero was being hunted repeatedly. So a lot of the issues you already know about them defensively with Hero and then their perimeter, they just got exposed. And, you know, everybody was saying that Trae Young was going to have a bad game. And, you know, he had 13 points, I think. He averaged 13 points a game in the series last year.
Yeah, he did.
Versus the Miami Heat. You know, people were just saying, well, you know, obviously he's going to get cooked this, and that.
Right.
Man, he showed up. He did his job. And I think the thing is that when you have DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella, who had 21 rebounds, you got Big O coming off the bench as well. And then on top of that, I mean, you got like Bogey and you got AJ Griffin. I mean, they actually got some players. They're just still figuring out their new identity under this new regime that there are. Obviously, Nate McMillan just popped out, and now they got Quinn Snyder. So I think that they showed up to the level of competition that they needed to play in order to win that game. And Miami simply just didn't get it done. And I'm not going to lie, you know, I don't think they're going to put up any real fight versus the Boston Celtics, but can you see a repeat of 2021 where Trae Young is basically like, all right, I'm feeling it. Here's 28 and 10 for a playoff series. I'm going to make it tough every single game with pick and roll with John Collins. And I also got these shooters on the outside as well. So, I mean, I was surprised because you expect more from Jimmy, but I also think that Jimmy might also show up tonight as well, and they might still be able to get into the playoffs.
So I agree. I thought I read something on Twitter that not Atlanta, excuse me, but Miami is going to want to win this game because Chicago might throw it in because there's a pick that they might have to give up if they make the playoffs or some sort like that. So I thought I read that. So if that is a game plan right there, then I think Miami is just going to win whether they play their best game or not, you know, because Chicago, they're in limbo. The trades that they made over the past couple of seasons, it has not panned out. You know, they keep finding themselves at the bottom. So they have to make some decisions, you know. So I don't know. I think that Miami might pull it off tonight and make the playoffs, but it might be a quick series. if we
Yeah, I
want.
think the interesting thing about them is that I'm really, when they had Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, they were actually really good defensively, especially. And they've been good defensively, by the way, since the All-Star break. Everybody talked about the Lakers defense, but they've also had an elite defense since the All-Star break as well. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, Zach LaVine, he played really well versus the Raptors and all their wing defenders that they had. So, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams defense versus Jimmy Butler today. Maybe Vooch is able to take advantage of Bam at times. I mean, I don't know. And again, maybe the Patrick Beverley effect is real because apparently every time he joins a team, they end up making the playoffs. And so for me, it's
Right.
like, I think that their defensive ceiling is so high because their POA defense can be so good at times. So I think that they actually have a chance. And then Derrick Jones Jr. off the bench, like he also makes a lot of noise as well, just with his sheer athleticism. I think that the Bulls might be able to win this game.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not confident in either of those teams versus the Bucks, but I think if I had to weigh it and say who would give the Bucks a better opportunity, and meaning like a more tough matchup in the playoffs, it might be Miami. But the way Miami's playing, we just don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. I don't know. I think they just kind of checked out. Things are not panning out. It looks like the end of the road for Miami, regardless of if they end up in that 8th seed or if they don't. This is the end of the road. They got to make some tough decisions. Come off season. Who's gonna get traded? Who are we gonna back? Bam is not the guy that some Heat fans have said he was. We won't go too far into it, but he's just kind of he's a compliment.
Now, would you say that Bam's had a really good year? I just think maybe he's 26 years old at this point in time. This might just be who he is. He may never develop offensively to where he's even a secondary option offensively in a playoff setting. I mean, in a regular season, maybe, he give you 20 and 10 and whoop-de-whoa, but again, you got to have something. You got to have either an inside game that's really good, whether they post-midi, post-phase, fadeaways, or just some shimmy, whatever you got. He doesn't have an offensive go-to mood outside of that little mid-range jumper when he gets an open opportunity. He's not a great self-creator on a consistent basis. So, again, if Jimmy's off and Tyler is having difficulties, which he didn't last game, but if he is, then you got to rely on Bam. I just don't know how high their offensive ceiling is going to be able to counteract as good as their defense might be at times.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I always thought that Bam is who he is. That's the thing. It didn't take me to get to this season to understand that. I understood that he's going to have these bursts of these 23-point games with maybe 12 rebounds and all that stuff, and he looks really good. And then I understood that more times than not, he's going to be kind of like 15 points. But 9 rebounds, a compliment. He's a complimentary player. He's a third option on a championship team. So they're depending on him at times to be number 1 or number 2, and it's just not going to happen. I don't know why it took people so long to see that, but you get really excited when someone has a good game, and then when you do this game to game thing, you get up and down. So. Tough decisions. Pat Riley, I don't think he's made great decisions the past few years like he usually does. So we're going to see what the Miami Heat look like next year, because I don't think this is the same team that comes back.
Do you think that Jimmy Butler, one of Jimmy, Hero, or Bam will get moved in the offseason?
I do, actually. I don't know if it's Jimmy, but you got to remember he's 33, 34 years old. He's not going to get any better. He's actually going to decline now, so now what? What are you going to do now? So it's like, are you going to trade him to a team, maybe the Denver Nuggets, Yeah.
I mean, look, I would love Bam or Jimmy, so I get it.
That's a whisper, but do you trade him somewhere like that? And he does not have to be the guy, because there's an actual guy on that team. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Miami, but this is not the same Miami Heat team.
Well, maybe he'd be really good at the Boston Celtics, because they're looking for a guy too now.
No. We have a guy, actually. We have a couple of them, I think that we're good. So, we're playing great, so we don't need him. I don't think you need him. I don't think you need him either, but Atlanta, do you think that they are a team that is maybe the issues that they've had is due to coaching, because Quinn Snyder, as you can see, he comes in and they play really well. Actually, they played a really good game Tuesday. I don't want to take that away from them. So do you think Quinn can turn some things around for them, or do you think that, hey,
what is it with Quinn joining teams with an elite offensive option at the guard position, but he has one single rim protector and no defenders around him for the most part? He just keeps getting like kind of lumped into these situations. Trae Young with a DeJounte Murray backcourt, sure. I think DeJounte can do a lot. DeAndre Hunter, if he was healthy, the idea of DeAndre is great, but having John Collins, the defensively, they're just going to be bad to mid. So I don't really know, like, even if they're able to turn up offensively, if that's going to mean something for them to viable. The thing is, when they beat the Knicks, I don't believe in the Knicks in the playoffs. Now, maybe Jalen Brunson-led Knicks might be a little different story, but the Knicks, as they were, they didn't really present any threat to me when they played against the Hawks. And then the Hawks played against the Joel Embiid-led 76ers, and then Joel Embiid had some shot variation that he declined as a scorer, as an efficient scorer is what I mean. And then Ben Simmons was there, and then Tobias Harris. Like, there was no James Harden at that point in time. So even then, like, they can take advantage of matchups when there's clear flaws that you can't take advantage of, especially like you can put Trae and John in pick and rolls consistently. And then even at the help side defender, they don't have a lot. So I really don't know, like I said, now they're playing against the Boston Celtics. And, all right, hey, bring Robert Williams up on a pick and roll. Great. Bring Al Horford up on a pick and roll. Okay, no problem. We'll gladly take that kind of matchup. Do what you got to do. So I think Trae's going to have to be special. DeJounte's going to have to be able to work because they're going to be going against Derek White, Marcus Smart, and the rest of that roster with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with a good rim protection in Robert Williams as well. So that's going to be really difficult for them, I think. And so I don't know, like, if you get better than that, because if you realistically can't beat the top three teams in the East fully healthy, then what's your actual ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, they're also, I don't think they're going to look the same either next year. I think that there's going to be something that's different about that team. I think Quinn Snyder is a very good coach, very, very good coach. Clearly, offensively, he's gifted, but something falls short of his teams, so we're going to see if Trae Young works out at long term, in Atlanta. We're not sure yet. There are rumblings that he does not get along with teammates, and coaches. So you got to move them out, move people in. So we're going to see what Atlanta looks like. I'm not sure if this team is going to be that much better next year, but they're going to try. I think they can get it be a 6 seed, maybe out the play-in, but we're going to see. We're going to move on. Minnesota versus the Lakers. This is a game that I was way more invested in than Atlanta and Miami. Way more invested in. And I'm going to ask you this question. What do you think of Karl Anthony Towns? Your honest opinion of Karl Anthony Towns?
I think he's a good player. He was third team All-NBA last year, I believe. I think Karl, as a person, I think Karl's gone through an incredible amount of adversity, and I think he's responded to that really well. And I actually love the way that he's been able to find life still with losing as many family members as he has because of COVID and all that. So amazing. I think as a person, him stepping up for Jordan and all that stuff, like I actually, funny, I think kind of highly of him, off the court and stuff. I think on the court, he's still figuring out who he is. He's so perimeter oriented as a big, and you saw that in the Lakers game, mostly due to foul trouble, I think. But some of that is his post skills. He doesn't have a Jokic or an Embiid or even really an Anthony Davis level package, when he's playing inside in the post. So I think he's a good player, but he was giving them fits. He was giving them fits for the first 3 quarters. But once he got that 5th foul, and some of that was he was out of position on boxing out. He wasn't giving it the same amount of effort he needed on box house. And so you get yourself in foul position when you're playing sloppy as a big, especially on the interior versus an elite player. So I think there are just holes in his game that he has to fix. But even defensively, it wasn't like he wasn't terrible defensively. The thing about Cat, he actually has like a lot of athleticism. Like he's actually a very athletic dude.
Yes, he is.
But mentally, he's not always there when he needs to be there defensively. But I think he's an incredible player. Like, his ceiling right now, he's been a top 17-ish player last year when he made the all NBA team. So he was injured this year. So he's a really good player. I just think that I guess it's almost like a Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown-esque tier, but I think they are even more solidified at times in their role on a playoff team than he is sometimes.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I am a Cat fan. I am, and I've been a fan since he entered the league. I think he is misunderstood, and it's because of all of that crap that's online about him, and then Twitter. They keep on with these just this crap. It's not about basketball, he gets labeled soft, and I'm like, and then he's like, oh, people are like, he's not a dog, and I'm like, what is a dog? What does that mean? Just because somebody dunks 50 million times in a game, oh my God, he's a dog, and I'm like, no, he's not. He dunked. That's it. Right. It doesn't make you a dog. The thing about Karl Anthony Towns, I think that he's on the wrong team. And I think that at some point he probably needs to leave Minnesota, and maybe get around some people that can help him with his post moves, help him in that paint, because I think that he was the only reason why they had a shot in this game. Anthony Davis was very quiet through this game, and then he was flopping. It was a lot of flopping in this game, and he was doing that because Cat was giving him fits. And then all of a sudden, Cat goes out with that fifth foul. All of a sudden, Anthony Davis was like Superman. He's pumping his chest up and everything. And I'm like, no, dude, Karl Anthony Towns was kicking your butt for 3 quarters, and then you got life in you when he went out. So,
Kyle Anderson playing center,
right? Right. You have Kyle Anderson playing center, and now you just look, oh, he's top 10, and I'm like, no, we're gonna stop. So, Anthony Edwards, I'm not shocked by that game that he had, because he is missing a bag. He does not have a mixed bag of tricks. And I have noticed that about him the past few years, that when you have good defense on him and you keep him out of that paint and get into that rim, he's like, I'm going to pass the ball to Taurean Prince. And I'm like, no, that's not who you need to be passing the ball to. So when it comes to Minnesota, they have a lot of pieces that possibly don't make sense. There's no Rudy, they're missing a couple other key pieces, in this game, but it just does not make sense right now. And now they have trouble in the locker room. There's punching walls. There's Rudy and pushing and all this stuff like that. And to my understanding, I don't think Rudy's going to play. Was it tonight?
Well, I think they're playing right now, actually. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I think for me on that, I think the difference is that they're playing. They play at 9:30.
9:30. They play at 9:30. Yep.
Yeah, I think the difference is, though, I think if they have Rudy and Naz Reid, and I think if Jaden McDaniels is available, they beat the Lakers. I'm not but I've been saying this, and I know people, whatever. I'm not impressed with the Lakers. I'm just not. I think they haven't beaten anyone. They have the number 1 defense into the All-Star break. They haven't played anyone. They played Golden State at home, where the Golden State Warriors couldn't beat anybody on the road, and they haven't done it. And the Lakers look like a playing team when they played versus the Timberwolves. So, and I think that's the thing is, I think the Timberwolves fully healthy are probably still a better team, but it's just because of the LeBron AD narrative and all that stuff that I think actually makes it overpowerful. But LeBron was playing bad defense in the first half. Anthony Davis was, again, as you were saying, if he wasn't getting outplayed, he was on the same level as Cat. And so I think with all that, and Anthony Edwards, I think he had a shoulder injury. I legit think he got hurt, because now I'm not gonna lie, I've seen Anthony Edwards play a lot. I've never seen him. He was fading away almost from the competition at times, and he was just jacking up jump shots. It just didn't feel like he was 100%. But I could be wrong. But I think that the Wolves, when they made that Rudy Gobert trade, when Tim Connolly got there, they had an identity in mind that they wanted to be a twin towers with an offensive big and a defensive big to offset each other. And they wanted to have an all-NBA big on the court at all times. But then the injuries happened. But I think if they don't get injured, they probably still end up at the top, 5 to 6 seed. But things just fell apart because of injuries.
No, I definitely agree with you. We're going to come right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick 'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code 3PEAT to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
All right, guys. So remember to go to Underdog Fantasy and use the promo code 3PEAT, and we will double your deposit up to $100. All right. So looking ahead tonight, who do you have winning tonight? Name the two teams that you think coming out in 8th seeds.
I think I'm gonna take. My heart wants me to say the Heat. My head wants me to say the Bulls are playing better basketball lately. I'm gonna say the Bulls, and then I'm gonna say, I might say OKC Thunder. I think OKC might get them tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to say Miami and OKC. I like the way OKC plays basketball. They're very cohesive, and they have some guys on that team that, Lou Dort, you forget about him, and then he has 20 points. Shea, we know who that is. We know what he can do. But Josh Giddey, and then you have, Jalen Williams. They have a lot of nice pieces, but they play well together. So I actually have them beating Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota actually wants to go to the playoffs. I think they just have too much going on, and I think Oklahoma City is hungry. So
right.
Those are going to be my picks as well. So as you know, we've had this conversation, this MVP race, man. We've had this back and forth, and as we know, we have, Giannis. We hear Giannis. We hear Joker. We hear Embiid, and now Tatum, I think, has fallen out of that race a long time ago. So, but let's look at the MVP candidates right now. So let's see what we have here. So we're gonna have Giannis, we have Joker, and we have Embiid. Tatum will probably be in here as well, right? But as you know, Embiid had a big issue with, Joker getting all the love, going to be a three-peat and all that stuff like that. All of a sudden, he comes out and he's just like, blah, 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 like it's unfair or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's averaging 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists on 55% shooting, and he's third in the East, right? So talk to me about, the MVP and who you think should get this award and why.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting year. The year started off where I think everybody had, it was going to be Giannis, Embiid, and Luka. Luka was the prohibited favorite. Tatum had some good odds in there as well. I remember, and I'm still going to keep talking about this. I thought it was hilarious then. I think it's hilarious now. The Boston Celtics writer, NBC Sports, said that Jason Tatum is better than Nikola Jokic now. It's finally time to accept it. I'm never going to let that go. This is like 10 games into the season, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Jason Tatum that just had 100 turnovers in the playoff run, who I like. I think I had Tatum as the number 6 best player in the NBA last year.
Back up, Swiper. Leave him alone.
And Tatum's going to be high for me again this year. I think he's been a top 10 player. Like, I love Jason Tatum. But that's just like, what are we doing? I think that Embiid, started off the year slow. They had injuries with Harden, and, they were just trying to make their way through. Giannis didn't start playing really, really good basketball until January, and they went on that 16-game win streak.
Yep.
So, but the thing was, Jokic started off slow, but he started off slow, averaging roughly 23, 12, and 10 because he was just playmaking out of the wazoo. And then he had a stretch where he was averaging like 29 for I think 30 games almost. And then, on the season, he'd average 25, 12, and 10 on 70% true shooting. Giannis is averaging 31, 13, and I think 6 or 5. And then Embiid 30, like you said, 33, 10, and 4.
Yep.
But I think the thing is, man, I've tracked every month, and I did it from November on. I've tracked every month, who the best player in the league was during that month in that stretch. And I had Steph to start off the year, and I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, from December through March, I had Jokic, and I had Embiid with the best player in March. But, outside of that, it had been Jokic and it had been Steph, and then it was Jokic and Embiid, and it was Jokic, and Jokic, and then all that stuff picked up. So for me, I think the MVP, based on how the criteria works with valuable and best player, best player contributing to winning. I think it's been Jokic, but I think that right now, I think Embiid's just going to win because of the narrative that Bill Simmons said the other day, who I also love, Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo. They said that, well, I think I can sleep better knowing in this era, I can look at Giannis having 2, Jokic having 2, and Embiid having 1. And that was why I feel comfortable giving him the MVP. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Or I had to hear Chris Broussard the other day say that it's Embiid's turn, because Embiid hasn't won one. If Jokic hadn't won one last year, he'd be the runaway this year. And then obviously Jokic had 77 first place votes in the second straw poll that came out. And then Embiid, his camp, and Giannis and his camp complained about it. And then the Denver Nuggets won on March 3rd versus Memphis Grizzlies, 7-game lead over first. Kendrick Perkins based the white voters comment, the stat padding comments, and all this other stuff. And it looked just like the whole conversation tanked, and it just got exhausting. So I think Embiid's going to win. I think that Jokic and Giannis are the 2 best players in the league. I think Tatum, I think he fell out probably January sometime because I think he started losing, and then his numbers started creeping down.
I think he was done in December, to be honest with you. Yeah, I do. I think he was done in December. He's been out of that race. In order for Tatum to creep up into that top 2, where it's undeniably top 2, he's got to shoot, around 55% from the field in general, 55. And then he's got to at least bump it up to about 36% from 3. Stop taking so many threes. And he's got to at least average, I'd say, about 6 to 7 assists.
We'll see that right now.
Assist wise, he is at about 5 assists. Okay. It's like 4.6 or something like that, which is naturally his career average. I believe it's right around there. He's got 9 rebounds. He's a great rebounder. He's an elite rebounder. That's something I can depend on him for. And he averages 30 points, but he's shooting 47%, from the field.
Oof, that's that. That might. I mean, I'm not even trolling. I think he legit probably the worst 30-point scorer in the NBA right now. I mean, because you got Luka Embiid, SGA. Who else is in that conversation? Giannis.
Yep.
I think there's one more, maybe.
LeBron.
Braun, Braun's 29. Yep. I think KD's 30. I think, and I think Steph was 20, dropped to 27 or something.
27, right? He absolutely is the worst 30-point scorer. And this is me. Everyone knows I'm a Boston Celtics fan. Absolutely, I'm a realist, people, and that's what you're gonna understand. This man shoots 47% from the field. That is ridiculous for a small forward in this league. It is absolutely ridiculous. Just think, at 30 points a game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 47% from the field. What can this man do if he was actually efficient? What would this man do if he actually stopped shooting 9 threes a game when he only makes 2 or 3 of them?
Why do you think he does that? Why does he shoot so many threes?
I think he wants that record.
What record?
That 3-point record
for the Celtics.
That and chasing Steph.
That's the season record.
Yes.
The 402 threes.
Yes.
Oh wow.
I think he wants because Swiper. What else can you say that why? What else could you be chasing? He's already, I think, the youngest. Was it at 1,000 threes to get to 1,000 threes? I think he's the youngest, so I'm like, are you doing this to break records? Because why else? You're not good at shooting threes, but You're throwing them up 9 to 10 a game. And it's terrible. That is terrible. I want him to take 4 to 5 a game, literally. And that would change actually his field goal percentage in general if he would just stop it. But he's not going to do it, But yeah, he's out of the race. Luka's been out of the race for a long time. I think him and Tatum just dropped out around the same time.
Yeah.
When you talk about Embiid and Joker, it comes down to me, those 2. I don't think Giannis is going to get it. I just don't think there's enough. Even though Giannis, 31 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, the man shoots 55% from the field. Why? Because he understands he can't shoot. He understands he can't shoot threes. So what is he going to do? He's going to get to the rim. My God, it sounds like he understands his strengths and his weaknesses. Hint, hint, Jason Tatum. So when it comes to these 2 guys, Embiid and Joker, do you think, Swiper, that this is more of an eye test as opposed to the stats? Because to me, this is looking like narrative, and eye test, and they're not taking into account the efficiency and what Joker is doing, how he's breaking records.
Yeah, I mean, Embiid has an all-time playmaker on his team that's elevated his game, obviously, and I think Embiid and Harden work so well together; they're seamless. I think Embiid had an incredible season. He has an MVP argument, but I just think that a lot of this comes down to eye test, play style, and narrative. I think the eye test is that Embiid is a dominant two-way big, which he can be, but he also had one of his worst defensive seasons of his career, and at least in the last few years. This year, and Sixers fans will tell you that because of their defensive personnel. But again, whatever, I get it. I think on the other side of this too, I think Embiid has been openly, publicly campaigning to win the MVP for 3 years now, and we've seen that. Like we've heard him say it. Yeah. He has had. I mean, I legit don't even know how many articles have come out in the last 2 months from Embiid where he's talked about I either don't want the MVP or I want the MVP. If you say you don't, you're lying. Mm-hmm. Why is there pressure on me? Why is there not pressure on the other two-time MVP in Denver? Well, this and it's just always something. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I have never had a player at that level that I've just become so like not. And I know it's not just me because I'm watching voters and writers that are just so. And even Daryl Morey last year was sending like gift baskets and all kind of stuff and DMing writers about the MVP stuff. Man, they have just been on this campaign, and it's just been crazy to me. And like I said, a lot of people did want to give Joker the MVP 2 years ago. They definitely did want to give it to him last year. The narrative around Joker is that he doesn't play defense. But you, as a Boston Celtics fan, saw the Denver Nuggets beat y'all, I think, 123 to 111. Joker had 30, 12, and 12 on like 92% true shooting. So for all the whatever you think exists, he played against a fully healthy Celtic. By the way, Embiid had that 52-point game versus a no Robert Williams and also no Jaylen Brown. But again, he gets more credit for that than he does for losing to Giannis by 20 points at home. So I think for me, it's all narrative because it's like the 47-18 game in January is still counting somehow for like production in March when you missed the game and you had an opportunity to play him again. So I just think that I think the narrative is what it is. I don't think that the basketball matches what the conversation is. And I think right now, based on the MVP tracker, I think Embiid has like over 22 first place votes. And I think Jokic has 5 and Giannis has 6. Which go to show you that this is not. There's no basketball argument that you could be having. That's anyway. So I just think
I got you. I got you. This is narrative. By this point, because he was smart. I mean, we can't say he wasn't smart for putting those articles out and those comments. I mean, he changed the narrative completely. He said, "I'm going to shift it on me." And look what I'm doing. Hey, look at me. Now, all of a sudden, the rules have changed. 65, you have to play 65 games now. And I'm like, oh, that's new. That changed quickly, right before the season ends. So this is narrative driven now. Embiid is a great player. Like, I am not taking anything. Philly fans, please hear me good. Like, not taking anything away from Embiid. He's played phenomenally, and he's the 3rd seed in the East and everything. I just think that he knew what he was doing, putting that narrative out there, and it succeeded because I think that he was going to walk away with it.
When that Kendrick Perkins stuff happened, I was so beside myself. I legit like I just never imagined something like that happening in an NBA conversation. Like the white voters thing, which again, you know me, like I've openly talked about racism and implicit bias. Like I have no issue talking about it. It was just the way it was thrown out there. When having the conversation about it, and there was no like information behind it, or there was no like plan of action after making those accusations. And then on top of that, and then it became a really weird public discourse. And then the stat padding thing happened, and it was just like, bro, like, are we really tearing down one of the greatest players of our era just because of like some nonsense? When I don't ever remember. I mean, and again, I guess that's just the way it worked, but I just hadn't heard it get that bad before. And then obviously like. Giannis came on strong, but they was capping. Even Richard Jefferson, my friend, who I appreciate. Giannis is a 10 on offense. No, just lying, just openly lying and saying things. So it was just a weird year, and I just think that the playoffs are about to be very revealing for how good these players actually are coming up here in a couple weeks.
Oh, 100%. So I know you're on the Joker train that he should get MVP. Stat wise, I have to split this up, because I do understand both ends. Stat wise, you can't get around it. Number 1 in the West. Joker is a phenomenal and amazing talent. I don't think you guys understand how good Joker is. I've kind of watched the Denver Nuggets for years. You know what actually made me kind of a fan of the Denver Nuggets, Swiper? Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah, it was cold.
I like when they got rid of Carmelo Anthony and you guys got Danilo Gallinari. I was tuned into every Denver Nuggets game. I was like, this man is cold, So I got a lot of love for your squad. Maybe you didn't know that. So, but stats wise and the fact of what he's done, I think he is the MVP. I think eye test, and because of it's like Joker doesn't kind of make the noise that people want. He just plays good basketball and he's very sound. A lot of fans, they like loud, a lot of analysts, they like loud players. And who is that? That is Embiid, and he keeps himself in the media. So I think this is the one where he's going to get it. And it's not to say he's not deserving of it because of his play, but I think that it's just narrative driven at this point, guys. So, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and talk about our brackets.
Jazz, Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for all-purpose online wagering. For over 20 years, Jazz has provided the best and quickest payouts in sports and entertainment wagers. Live sports betting, covering all the major sports leagues, and even into the new and exciting world of esports. Down the stretch you'll come, with Jazz's online horse wagering. Get paid when you play with Jazz's fun and exciting online casino games. Go online now and use the promo code TSS for our new members deals. Jazz Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for online wagering.
All right. Let's throw up these brackets here. So I know ours looks a little different. I think that it's pretty status quo as far as the first series, the first round. So right now, this is what I have, guys. I have, obviously the Bucks over Miami. I have the Knicks beating the Cavs. We can talk about it. Obviously the 76ers over the Nets, and then, Celtics over Atlanta. Then I have obviously the Bucks beating the Knicks, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I have Philly playing Boston, losing in 6 games to Boston. And it's going to be between Philly and the Bucks, and then over on the West, I have the first round, which is Phoenix to the Clippers. I actually changed my bracket, people, because I actually was on the Clippers train for a little bit. And then I took a good look at Paul George being out and just how it's set up. The Suns are getting to the next round. You're not going to be able to stop that offense. I think defensively, they're going to be okay to get through that round. The Warriors, they're going to beat the Kings. It just is what it is. And the Lakers, their first round exit, Denver's obviously going to beat OKC. I have actually Phoenix beating Denver. We talk about it, Swiper. I got the Warriors beating the Grizzlies. And then as far as the finals go, I have Phoenix versus Boston, and Boston being the victor. So that is my bracket. Swiper, what are your thoughts on my bracket?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think that based on some of the national consensus, it makes sense. Some of it gets national consensus. I think that the Lakers are the easy pick for a lot of people, beating Memphis. I just think there are clear basketball holes that exist there, but I think that the Lakers could win the series, but I think that's a good pick. I think that the Celtics, beating the 76ers, I think that's consensus. I mean, really, there's like an NBA Twitter media, and then there's like an NBA content creators and like, I'd say hardcore fans. And I think both of those communities agree that the Celtics are just better than the 76ers. Even in the playoffs, we'll see who the best player is in that series is too. I do think the Celtics can make the finals. I don't know. There's Giannis and Brooke and Drew and Chris. That's just going to be a really tough out in a conference finals in Milwaukee, especially. And if Jason Tatum is able to elevate to who he was from round 1 through 3 last year, they could easily win that series. If we see a finals Jason Tatum, they're cooked. He can't do that. Yeah. But I think Jaylen Brown can have a good series versus them. Both of them, they just cook versus wings for some reason. I think Marcus is really good. I think it's a good bracket. I can understand. I can see it. I have so many questions about the Suns. I think that every time I
Yeah.
see people pick the Suns, I'm just like, I just don't think that. I'm asking people, who is their defensive personnel you think is locking up? Because you got a Chris Paul, Devin Booker backcourt, Josh Okogie at 6'4", small forward, and your best defender is Kevin Durant. So I'm trying to figure out, like, well, who's guarding on POA, who's rim protecting, and then if I pull one of them away from the rim, then what are you doing? So they have no, and they also are like, they're small. They're not even like a thick team. The Bucks, there's like a physicality. Even the Celtics, there's like a level of physicality that they can reach. The Suns, like, no one on that roster intimidates you physically. The Nuggets are huge inside. Even Memphis is huge inside. The Lakers got Braun and AD, and then even the Golden State Warriors. People think they're a finesse team. Kevon Looney and Draymond Green are going to punch you in the mouth. And how do you respond to that? I just don't know if the Suns have that. So we'll see what happens to them. But I actually don't mind the bracket at all.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that bracket, I actually had to change a lot of it because I was just like, I don't know, man. I took a good look at how teams are going into the playoffs. I'm like, okay, some of this is going to change, so I'm going to go out on a limb here. I just think that Boston's going to beat Milwaukee. This is not the fan in me talking. This is the me talking that is the analyst. And I just think that when it comes to the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, athleticism is going to be a big thing. The most athletic person on the Bucks is Giannis. I think that who else is athletic, Swiper, on that team?
Grayson
Allen, maybe.
I'm trying to think of, well, I mean, Pat Connaughton's a super athlete. He does a 40-inch vertical.
He's an athlete, but
maybe not your traditional Giannis kind of athletes. But I think that Drew Holiday's a great athlete. He's just like a stout athlete, though. Like he's a stout athlete. Dude. Bobby Portis is a decent athlete. I think relative to his size, Brook Lopez is a really good athlete. He's just not, he's 7'2". Like it's kind of hard to be like super agile there.
I think he's getting pulled out of the paint though. One thing they will do is they will give up a lot of threes. They say, hey, you make it good, but you're not getting this defensive rebound.
Well, who's killing their drop coverage on your team?
I mean, take your pick, Swiper. Like, take your pick, man. Like, listen, I'm telling you, Robert Williams is going to come in, right? I think he's coming off the bench too, but I just think that these guys are going to be able to take whatever the Bucks are throwing at them. I really do. And I think they're going to make their shots. I think that they actually are going to shoot about 38%, maybe 39% from three, could be 40, but I think they're going to make their shots. And I think that Malcolm Brogdon, which is unsung hero for that Celtics team, he's damn near what 15 points. He's shooting over 40%, from three. He makes his free throws. This is a starter coming off of a bench, pretty much. So, and then they got Bobby Portis. I love Bobby Portis, so I'm going to take Boston, because I just feel like Chris Middleton is not all the way back. I think that he looks like he's trying to get back. I think he has good games. Then he has some games where he's just like, like he just looks a little cooked, So I don't know. He's trying to get healthy to where he was. And I think that Tatum and Brown have improved, So I don't think that they're waiting around for Chris Middleton to catch up. And that's what I think. So
yeah, I just think the thing about the Bucks is you got Drew, Grayson, Chris, Giannis, Brook, and then you have Carter, Pat Connaughton, Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis, with, if you want to put some other players in there, I mean, then you even have your Goran Dragic like off the bench as their 11th man or something like that. Javon, I mean, they're just a big team, man. Like they're a big physical team, and that's. And again, you could outshoot them though, and their offense. If you stop them, they don't create a lot of turnovers. So if you get good quality shots, which for the Celtics is going to be, we will see Jason Tatum. If you give us good quality shots in the playoffs, but if you give them good quality shots, they're not going to turn you over a lot, and you can get stops. Yeah, you can win that series for sure.
No, yeah, I just think that's how it's going to play out. But I can see the Bucks winning. It's okay, It's like we're going to see how much the Celtics have learned, how much Tatum has learned, how much Jaylen Brown has learned, how much Joe Mazzulla has learned from being in this and, pushed into this head coach position? Does he understand, who he has to put in, who he has to take out? He can't sit Jason Tatum for 25 minutes and like get in and make 6 shots, back to back to back. Has he learned, does he know who his closing unit is? We have to see, there's some what ifs on both sides, but I'll pick Boston. I want to talk to you about the Cavs and the Knicks. Well, how do you think that's going down? Because I think you picked the Cavs on yours, right? So this is yours.
Yeah.
You got obviously the Bucks, come on now, over the Bulls. I get it. Cavs going, Philly going, Boston going in that first round. Philly, Boston, you pick Boston. And then as far as the Bucks and Cavs, you pick the Bucks, of course. And then you pick the Bucks to go to the finals. On the other side, of course, you got Denver going to the finals. Phoenix beating out the Clippers, losing to Denver, and then Warriors beating out the Kings, going on, and then obviously the Grizzlies beating out the Lakers, and Warriors beating out the Grizzlies. All right, and Denver's going to beat the Warriors. So you have the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. Okay, and it's going to be Denver versus Bucks, and you think Denver is going to be the victor. So
yeah, I was up in the air about that. I mean, I can see Bucks or Denver winning that series, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Giannis. Like I think Jokic and Giannis for me are the 2 best players in the league, and they're both fully healthy rosters. This will pick them at that point because it's just like who's going to make their shots. Yeah, I think Giannis is incredible. Like I think that just his way to elevate his team and the way he plays, it's just incredible. I have a lot of questions about the Suns, so I just think people like Shane Young, who I love. I think Shane Young's an incredible writer. He picked the Suns to beat the Nuggets in 5 games, and I'm just like. I just think people are just overrating like mid-range shot making to a degree. I just think that like their defensive personnel is going to be weak. I think that the Lakers are going to get beat. We'll see. They could win that series still. I think the Cavs are good, man. I think the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Now their offense isn't great, but they have a lot of length in their front court. And I think dealing with that on a consistent basis, if you can get a decent series from Evan Mobley, Nat, I think they can win that series in 6 games. But again, Jalen Brunson's good. Julius Randle's good. They're both all NBA level players this year. I didn't vote for either of them for all NBA, by the way. Emmanuel Quickly, my 6th man of the year off the bench. Tom Thibodeau is going to play in 48 minutes a game. So, yeah, for sure. They definitely could win that series, but I do think the Cavs should pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Knicks because of IQ, and Brunson. I think that they like IQ is better off the bench and he's a scoring punch. I really don't understand the scoring punch coming off the bench for, the Cavs right now. It's like a toss up and then scoring punch, on their bench is like, ooh, who can do that? So I'm like, I don't know. I think that they're fired up. I think they play well together in New York. I think that they're a fun team. I think that they've just kind of just played basketball this year, and just let everything else go. They play basketball. And Donovan Mitchell, although there is no Rudy Gobert, I get it. I want to see how he does in the playoffs. Is it about him getting 40 or is it about making the right play? And that's I think why I did not pick them, because I'm not sure if he's learned that or if he's ever going to learn that. So I think that the Knicks have what they can do. I think that they do it well, and I think that they can get out of this series. It's going to take maybe 7 games. They might need to do it and get rid of them in 6, but I'm just going to pick the Knicks because I think they're playing a little bit better basketball. You take that 40 ball away from the Cavs and it's like, okay, you can see the holes a lot more clear. If Brunson has an okay game, usually IQ or RJ Barrett comes up and has a good game, and then, Mitchell Robinson is still a solid piece. And then Julius Randle was still really good. So I'm looking around and I'm like, the consistency of more than one player is on the Knicks.
Right.
So I think that's why I picked them. And, I'm a little bit more comfortable with that, so when you talk about the Phoenix Suns, I agree. And I understand what you're saying. I think I have a hard time believing that they're going to be out in the second round. I just have a hard time believing that. I kind of feel like somebody's going to step up in this series that we're not looking at. We're not seeing. I don't know. But I think that they are going to gel in the first round. They're going to figure it out. I think that they're just going to beat the Clippers outright in 6. Maybe
With no
5.
Kawhi, so you think with no Paul George is still going 6?
Maybe 5. I'm trying to be nice, man. Because
no, I think it's going to be 6. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. But again, I think that I'm just trying to. I need to see it for myself because they haven't beaten anybody. There ain't no Kevin Durant with no victories versus anyone. No one. They haven't played anyone, and they haven't been pushed to play anyone. So my whole thing is like you're going to play the Clippers and they're hurt. If it's a tight series, you're hurt. You're playing against a hurt Clippers team. Well, dude, like you're going to play against Jamal, KTP, MPJ, AG, Jokic, Bruce, Christian, and the rest of that roster who's completely gelled from game 1 to now with, again, either the best player in the series or it's a head-to-head tie with him and KD, and then it's everybody else. So for me, it's just like they're going to get demolished inside. And then Jack Landale coming off the bench, Terrence Ross coming off the bench, TJ Warren coming off the bench, DJ with whatever Wilson or whatever coming off the bench, and then Landry Shamet. They're small. I'm telling you, man. I think that it's going to be I think some people are going to be in for like a shock in the first round when the Clippers series. Like, why does it look like this? Like Kawhi Leonard is basically shooting toe to toe with Kevin Durant, and then Norman Powell and them are cooking in the series. Like, what's going on? Like, where is Torrey Craig? Where is Josh Okogie? And I'm like, oh, you mean, they didn't have an elite defense? Because Zubac is outworking DeAndre Ayton. Who would have thought? Who could have predicted?
And you know what? I would have been a little bit more comfortable in saying 5 games if I believed in DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton sometimes just looks like a deer in headlights, and I just don't understand it. He's got all of the physical gifts, the tools, and it's like, do you want to be great? Do you want to be talked about like Embiid or in the rest of them? And sometimes I just think he's cruising. So that's my problem with the Suns, even though I did pick them. But if he can all of a sudden have a resurgence and he's just all over the court, I'm like, all right, this should be done in 5, and then I feel more confident. So who knows? But yeah, so obviously you have your Denver Nuggets winning that chip, and good luck to you, Swiper. Swiper, how can the people find you?
Man, you can follow me on Twitter at SwiperCam. You see me at Swiper, YouTube, SwiperCam, TikTok, SwiperCam, Instagram, SwiperCam. You can find me at Mile High Sport, SwiperCam. So all that, you can find me everywhere.
No, that is amazing. I want to thank you so much for coming on here. You are a brilliant basketball mind. I know I'm going to see your face all over Twitter and in even more spaces and all that stuff like that. So I congratulate you for everything you're doing.
I appreciate it. You can also add former JCPenney's model in there. I appreciate you, Nat. Yeah, one of my favorite people to interact with. I appreciate you. Shout out to the platform and for bringing me on. It's been great. It's been a great episode.
100%. Thank you so much. And as you guys know, you can find me on Twitter at Nat_the_GM, Nat the GM, on Twitter. And please follow and subscribe, all right, to the 3 Peat Podcast on YouTube, guys. All right. So you guys have a great night, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.